Right then, now today I'm going to talk about HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, and this is the language that web pages are written in. And the idea is that to create a web page, you have a text file that describes all the things that are going to be in the web page, and your web browser then reads the HTML and tells your web browser, so it tells the screen what to draw, so when you look at it you can see the website as it was designed. Now, hypertext markup language, one of the key things is it isn't a programming language, it's a markup language, which is what the ML stand for. So it's not programming, there's no loops, there's no if statements, things like that. It's literally just a description of what the page is going to look like. Now, if you're going to do some HTML, what you need really is a text editor in front of you. You're best off with a text editor, something like Notepad, maybe Notepad++, which has some colours to help make it easier to spot where the things are going. But every web page should look like this. I'll make sure this appears on the screen. Should start with HTML inside two pointy brackets. Okay, and these things here are called tags. And HTML has lots and lots and lots of different tags. Now, every tag in HTML has an opening tag and a closing tag. So what we're saying is this is the start of the HTML document, this is the end of the HTML document, and everything in between is HTML. And then a web page is made up of two parts. There is the head and there is the body, which is kind of what you'd expect. That makes some kind of logical sense, doesn't it? And again, we need a slash body and we need a slash head. Okay, and that's the basic structure of every web page. And so long as you're familiar with that, that's the key thing. Okay, you can always start any web page by doing that. Now, the things in the head won't actually appear on the web page. You won't see them most of the time, with the exception of the title. And the title is the thing that appears in the title bar. So when you load a web page, next time you're on the internet, or if you're on YouTube now, look at the top and it'll say YouTube, and it'll probably have the name of a video or some words in there, and that comes from the title tag. So I can put, you know, my first web page. It's a bit cheesy, it's a bit rubbish, but it'll work. Okay, and in fact, if you were to save this file in your text editor, and call it, I'll put this up here, if you call it index.html, if you save your file as that, and then you open that file in any web browser, what you'll see is an empty page, but the title will be my first web page. Okay, so you can pause the video, you can go try that, come back, or whatever works for you. Okay, and then in the body, that's the stuff that appears on the page. So if I just write something in here, again, if you save it and you reload it in your web browser, you'll see this text then appears in the page. Okay, and all the stuff goes in there. Now, for the rest of this kind of session, this video, I'm just going to concentrate largely on what goes between body and slash body. So what I'll do is I'll just wipe all this off, and we'll assume that everything in here for now goes between body and slash body. Okay, and the various things we can do. Now, we can write text unit. We can write hello world is kind of the typical programmer's way to start something off. So we can write hello world, and then if we wrote something else, I don't know, what do you think, actually sorry, I won't write that there, I'll write it on the next line. What do you think of my webpage? Okay, and if you save that and run it, what you'll find is it probably doesn't do what you expected. What I would expect, if I didn't know this stuff, is I would expect to have hello world on one line and what do you think of my webpage on the next. But actually, if you run it, it won't. It'll all be on one line. And the reason is I haven't told the web browser that there's going to be a new line. So we have to do that. So we can add a tag that will do it, and the tag we need is BR. Okay? Now, you remember I said that every tag has an opening tag and a closing tag. Okay, so everything in between is in the body. Well, with a line break, it's a bit strange because you don't have anything within the line break. You just have a line break. And so what you can do, which is technically wrong, but a lot of people do it, is you can just do BR, and that will work. Every web browser I've ever tried will recognise that as a line break and put a line break in. Actually, the correct form of that is BR space slash. And what that will do is that then opens the tag and closes it at the same time. Because there's nothing in the middle. There's this whole idea of, an opening tag and a closing tag. HTML opens, HTML closes. The line break opens, then the line break closes. There's nothing in the middle, so we can do it all in one tag. Okay, so we can do that. And there are various other inline tags that we can use. There are things like B for bold. So this is bold. We'll make just that section in bold. I'm sorry, my handwriting's getting worse as we go along. But that will make it bold. Now actually that's a bit old-fashioned now. What we tend to use instead, I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure why. I'm sure there's a very good reason. I'm sure someone will tell me. But actually we tend to use strong now. Never quite sure why. Again, most web browsers will certainly read both quite happily, but strong is the accepted version. And I'm just going to double check, I've got a document here from AQA, which tells me all the tags you're expected to know to make sure I don't forget any. And in there it just says strong is a tag you're expected to know, but B for bold isn't. Okay, so strong. If you want italics, that's emphasis or EM, and you can have italics in there. And then we've also got, we've done the line break. There are a few others that we'll come to a bit later. There is one called span, and we'll look at that one a bit later in more detail. But there are these inline tags that you can use. There are loads more. I mean, I wanted a book on HTML tags, and it was as thick as your arm. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different tags. You're not expected to memorise them all, but there are lots out there. Okay, so these are your inline tags. We've also got some block level tags, and the block level tags. Okay, the block level tags do things to larger chunks of text or content. Okay, so whereas the B tag you'd use, or the strong tag you'd use to make a little section bold, just to highlight a little bit, these affect much larger areas. So the common ones really are div, which helps you kind of set a section or a division within the page. We've also got P for paragraph. So instead of line breaks, you can have some text in a paragraph, and then another paragraph, and it will display not only with a line break, but it will put an empty line in between as well if you use paragraph tags, which is what you'd expect of a paragraph. It's a bit more spaced out. There are a couple more. There's HR, which is a horizontal rule. Again, that works a bit like a line break. A horizontal rule will just put a line across the page, and again, because there's nothing inside that, you open and close at the same time. There are the good old-fashioned headings. Heading 1 being the most important. We then have heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, all the way down to heading 6, which is the least important, and that's really, really small. Normal body text on a web page is around about H3. It's not exactly there, but it's around about H3. So H1 and H2 are bigger. H3 is very, very slightly bigger. I think H4 is very slightly smaller, and H6 is tiny. Okay, so you've got the heading tags, and then the other one, the one that I find quite useful, is UL, which is an unordered list, and an unordered list, of course, needs list items. Now I'm indenting them just because it's my habit to do so. Indentation in HTML isn't necessary. It can make it much easier to read, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. But I tend to indent list items just so it's easy for me to read. So a list item is some stuff, so things I've covered in my videos so far are the TCP/IP stack, how DNS servers work. I'm now doing one on HTML. You get the idea, and of course you close each list item once you're done, and that will just appear as a bullet point list. An unordered list is a bullet point list. Okay, if you want it to be a numbered list, then it's not unordered anymore, it's in order, so it's an ordered list, or OL. Okay, so you've got UL, OL, and LI for list item, which help you do bulleted lists. Okay, and that's all the block level tags. I'm aware I'm flying through these pretty quickly. The best way to learn these is to sit down and make some web pages. Just pick a topic you're interested in and make some web pages, and keep making web pages until you get the idea of using these tags, because they're really, really useful. Okay, so we've done block level, we've done inline, we've talked about the div being used to split things into sections. The next thing then is to talk about some parameters. So one of the tags that isn't on the list of tags you have to learn, but one of the tags I quite like is the font tag. Now, the reason you don't need to learn this tag is because actually CSS means you don't need to use it. We'll come on to CSS in a different video. Okay, but I still quite like the font tag if I'm just doing some quick plain HTML. And you can do things like font and have some writing and slash font. If you put that in some code, it won't do anything. You test it, it won't do anything at all because you haven't really told it anything. All I've said is I'm going to change the font. What you have to do is tell it how you're going to change the font, and the way you do that is by adding parameters. So I can say colour equals red, and that will make my font colour red. There's speech marks there, it's not very clear. That will make my font colour red. Do notice it's the wrong spelling of colour. We have to use the American spelling of colour, which is a bit rubbish, but it's tough, you do. And there are certain keywords, blue, red, green, yellow, things like that, will work. Lots of colours won't work if you try and talk about peach and cyan and things. Cyan might do, I don't know. But certainly there's a limited number of colours that will work like that. So what you can do, incidentally, it's a bit of an aside really, is you can use the hash symbol and put in a 6-digit code in hexadecimal. So that would be red, green and blue. Okay, so that would make my writing red. What you've got is 2 digits for red, 2 digits for green, 2 digits for blue. I don't want to go into too much detail on this stuff. If you've not come across hexadecimal before, if you've not come across colour codes before, it's on the syllabus. I haven't made videos for that yet, but I will do it at some point, I'm sure. But you can go on the internet and search for colour codes, and there are plenty of websites with examples on. But it's red, green, blue. If it was FF, FF, and FF, if it was lots of red, lots of green, lots of blue, it would be white, because it's all the colours. If you wanted black, it would be 6 zeros. And you can generally look at it and have a guess at the colour by looking at how large the numbers are from 00 to FF. So you can do font colours, but the point I'm trying to make is that you can add parameters to your HTML tags, and that's really, really useful. Again, one of the people used to learn quite early on was in the body tag. You've got a body tag already. In there you can say BG colour equals, and put a colour in. That'll do your background. Okay, again, it's been superseded really by CSS, which we'll come to, but that idea is quite useful, and there are nice ways of demonstrating it. Another place we can demonstrate it is with the anchor tag, and the anchor tag is just that, just A. And again, on its own, it's not going to really do a lot. Okay, so the anchor tag we need to add a bit more to. And the reason we use anchor tags usually is to make something on the page linked to something, to anchor it to something else. Okay, which generally speaking means a hyperlink. Not always, but generally speaking means a hyperlink. So I'll go right over here, and what I want to do is in my anchor tag I'm going to have some writing, and that's the thing. Just like we had the body and slash body, font and slash font, strong and slash strong, this bit here, this text click me, is going to be the bit that is affected by the anchor tag. So click me will be written on the screen, and the anchor tag will do something to it. Okay, and what we're going to do is this. So I'm going to build it up stage by stage, is the parameter is going to be href, hyperlink reference, and we can add in where we want it to go to. You've got to have the HTTP, you've got to have the protocol, and then we can have google.com. Okay, and what that will do, so we've got an anchor tag that affects the text click me, and how it will affect it is to make it a hyperlink reference to this web page here. Okay. Now typically what will happen is someone will give you the full code and explain it bit by bit. I think that process of starting with the anchor tags and how it affects this, it makes it really clear. This is what's being affected. This is what appears on the screen. This bit comes afterwards. Actually, where it's going to link to comes afterwards. Okay, in terms of the way it's structured. Incidentally, you can put anything in here. You can put pictures in here. It doesn't have to be text. You can put all sorts of things in here, make them clickable. That's really straightforward, and you can put any kind of website address in here. You can also add things like mail to, and you can put an email address in there. Obviously fill it in properly, and that will open your default email program when you click on it, and create a new email with the subject, the to line already filled in. And there's extra codes you can fill in the subject line automatically, stuff like that. So if you want somebody to email you from a website, and you want it to be really clear what the email's about, because it's from the website, you can predefine all that in the code, and it will automatically, when you click on it, launch your email program and fill all these fields in, which is really handy. So that's your anchor tag. And you can also, if you're opening a web page, you can also have things like target, and you can make the target a new blank page. Underscore blank will be a new blank page that it'll open up in. So there's all those. And then one more tag we'll do for now, I think we'll probably stop at that point, is the image tag. And again, the image tag on its own doesn't do anything. So we have a slash close at the end, just like the line break. Slash close, like that. So it's just one tag on its own. And again, we need to give it some parameters, things like the source of the image. Okay, now the simplest form is just to put, mypic.jpg or something like that. Now what that will do is it's a relative link, so it will look for that picture within the same folder as the HTML file. Okay, so the computer isn't psychic; it doesn't know where the picture is. If you put the picture in the same folder, it'll be fine. If you've got your HTML pages in one folder, so you've got your, if I pretend this is my folder, and in here I've got index.html, and here I've got a folder called images, and all my pictures are in there, then what I can do is I can say go look in the images folder, and then have the picture, whatever picture it might be, and that will work. Equally, if it's a picture that's on the internet, which is often frowned upon, but it's quite possible to do, again, just paste the full address of the picture, flickr.com/whatever, and that will just go and fetch the picture from that web page. It's considered bad practice because it adds extra traffic to their website, because they have to get, every time the picture loads on your website, it's really coming from theirs. So it's a bit of a bad habit to get into. It's considered a bit rude. So try and avoid that if you can. I shouldn't have rubbed all that off, never mind. Also in the image tag, you've got the source equals whatever. You can also change things like the height. So you can specify the exact appearance of the picture within the page. Again, it's a bad idea to take an enormous picture and just squash it like this, because you're still making your users download the enormous picture. And if they're on GPRS or something, if they're on the mobile phone, that's going to cause problems. So do try and compress them to a decent size, but you can adjust it with height and width. You've also got things like alt and title. Okay, alt is alternative. That's kind of an accessibility thing, so that if you've got a screen reader for somebody who can't read the screen for any reason, that could be useful if it doesn't load properly. And title is your hover text. So if you put the title, this is my picture, and then you load the page and you put your mouse over it and just let go for a second, that message there will pop up. And one of my favourite kind of geeky things to do on the web is read the XKCD webcomic. A lot of the kind of nerdy, kind of geeky jokes. If you go to that website and have a look at some of the comics, there's always a hidden punchline. If you put your mouse over the comic and just leave it there for a few seconds, there's a title tag that pops up and gives you an extra punchline on that particular joke of that particular comic. And that's enough for now. There's a lot of tags in there. Like I said, there's hundreds more, but that's plenty to keep you busy. So we've got the block level tags. We've got the basic structure, which is HTML, head, title, /title. I'm not drawing in all the tag things because it'll take forever. Body, and then /body, and /HTML. That's the basic structure of every HTML page. And every HTML page should have all those tags in. And then you can put your title in, you can put your body in, you can add your parameters, add your anchor hyperlinks, add your images, all the rest of it. Like I said, the best way to practice this stuff is to go away and actually sit down and make a number of web pages. Don't make one or two, make half a dozen at least. Make them link to each other, put internal links in, make external links. Again, the internal links, you can just put the hyperlink reference equals page 1.html. As long as it's in the same folder, that'll work. If it's an external link to another website, you've got to put the whole http://whatever, and that will work. So go away, make some web pages, and then we'll do some more stuff to do with CSS a little bit later.